Hmm. I notice that I like to share just these moments of insight. I think it's amazing to live a life and to live your whole life up until this point and to learn a little bit every day and to expand awareness a little bit every day and to make a lifestyle and a practice out of just opening, having a willingness to open up awareness. And that means questioning one's own mind and observing one's own experience and being willing to observe the way that I have, that I think, that I perceive, that I experience, the stories I tell, what I notice the world around me wants to pull me into, the sort of stories and groups and agreements and perspectives that the world tries to pull you into. Just living in that, noticing that, experiencing it, being in it, navigating my own mind, my own ego, my own life, my own experiences, and just noticing that what works for me is to be willing to just observe that experience and be willing to expand awareness of it. And it blows my mind genuinely that having that willingness consistently over a long period of time, still having moments where I'm like, holy shit, how did I not see that before? How did I not perceive that before? How did I not feel that before? How did I not, have that insight that you're having in the moment? And my insight tonight is that I want to learn to speak as honestly, as candidly, as easy as I can about whatever I am experiencing and how I'm perceiving it and experiencing it without getting all dramatic about it, without telling a big story about it, without doing anything other than sharing my observation of being. And maybe that's the best thing that I can share. And maybe that's the best thing that we all could share is just, hey man, what's it like for you out there? What are you experiencing? How are you navigating your life? How are you navigating your pain? How are you navigating and growing through your suffering? What are you experiencing in your experience of life, and what are you learning from it? I notice I did something today that really required me to face my experience of fear, my perception of fear. I noticed the experience of wanting to recoil, wanting to pull within, wanting to hide, wanting to get away. And that perception came from choosing to do an interview that required me to be really honest about my professional experiences and how that relates to my experiences of serving veterans, working with veterans in active duty military, and how that relates to navigating the insurance industry known as Tricare and the companies, the third party companies that the government contracts to manage Tricare. And I notice that the perception is that if I am honest about my experience, that I could be punished somehow. And I've just been really observing that within myself and really observing that within the society that I live in. And I see how quickly people silence themselves. I see how quickly people become afraid of what would happen if they would speak their honest experience without any big story attached to it or any big judgment. Like, here's what I'm experiencing in the world as objectively as I can report it to you. And we are really our own like reporters. We are our own journalists in some ways of the life experience. We are our own documentarians. And by sharing honestly with each other, I think that we could move mountains. And I think that we could really help each other grow and heal. And I notice my own fear in that really emerging in the context of what I've been navigating in my life for the past several months, and how that relates to so many thousands of people in 26 states across the western United States. And that is the Tricare West region. And it has been going through a very major, giant corporate transition from one entity to another. For the moment, I'm not even going to mention them. And in my experience, in my perception, in my honest opinion, it could have easily been handled so much more proactively to ensure that veterans would not be negatively impacted, so providers would not be negatively impacted. Like it goes a long way when a company or an organization or an entity that has a lot of power, when they behave in a way that is truly proactive and exemplifies and demonstrates that they actually care about the people they present themselves to care about publicly and through their marketing campaigns and on their websites and in the promises and in the agreements they make with people. It would have been so easy to be proactive in preparing for a transition over a year's time they had to prepare, and they chose to allow the system to get dramatically overwhelmed, and the entire system crashed, and it still crashed. It's not operating properly. This potentially affects probably hundreds of thousands of active duty military and veterans, retired veterans, anyone who uses Tricare. It affects the providers and it affects the members. And I could go deep into detail about that, but I'm learning to just speak about my honest experience as I see it. And my perception is I don't need to speak this aggressively. I don't need to make any threats. I also don't need to get all depressed and to hide my experience and to hide my perception and to hide my truth and my honest experience. My honest experience is that I worked my ass off so that I could be in a position to serve active duty military and veterans. It's where my heart is. It's what I've really put my heart into, and this has become my community of people. It's just I'm so honestly, I find the most genuine, honest, hardworking, amazing human beings in the veteran community that I get to be a part of. Just remember, they're all people. They're all humans. They're all just a part of our community. We are us, they are them. And there's all this weird separation and division instead of just recognizing that, man, there's some amazing people in our military. And having gotten to be in that community, I want to fight for it. And I'm so tired. It's so obvious that everyone talks about the mental health crisis in the military and in the world, but in particular, politicians and the healthcare industry make big talk of honoring our veterans and dealing with the mental health crisis and dealing with the suicide epidemic. And in my honest opinion, and I'm going to say this broadly, we are living in an environment that demonstrates an abusive relationship in which these organizations that we are really mandated to participate in, and we have to go into agreement with them, and they present it as if they truly care for us and they truly want to take care of us and they truly want to do what's best for us, and we got you and we got our troops. And my honest experience is that the marketing campaigns and the websites and the promises that are made are not reflected in the actual behavior of what's happening behind the scenes on the medical side and on the insurance side. And in my opinion, the reason I decided to hit record tonight, my epiphany, was that if I can't speak honestly about my honest experience, how about this? The people I surround myself with and that I get to be in relationships with are the kind of people that I could give this kind of honest feedback to, and they would hear me and they would be willing to listen and they would take it in and they would decide actually to decide how they could be informed by that. They would just participate in that dialogue. And we all participate in this dialogue of building each other up and lifting each other up and helping each other to grow and helping each other to heal. You can only heal as a family, as a nation of people, by being really honest with one another and accepting one another's truth. So I notice I'm afraid to talk about my experiences in the healthcare industry or the mental health industry or the veterans industry or my experiences particularly with Tricare because I'm afraid that they would behave or act in a punitive manner simply for me being honest. And I recognize that I do not want to behave that way because that is how people behave in abusive relationships. I can speak my honest experience without being aggressive, without being threatening, without being depressive and avoidant. I can simply talk about my honest experiences. And if I am in a healthy relationship with these organizations, if these organizations want to help this nation heal and this world heal, how about recognize there's incredible profits to be made by actually inspiring people, by actually preparing a year ahead of time and actually doing what needs to be done to make sure that the people that you serve are taken care of. And they don't have to experience another rupture in their faith in relationships. I can't believe people don't understand that our veterans, our military, have experienced a rupture in the rapport, a rupture in the trust. They have experienced a betrayal over and over again from the culture that they call home, while that culture sells the idea that they are taking care of the troops. It is a fucking abusive relationship. It really is. And SpongeBob calls swear words sentence enhancers, and that's why I can throw one in there once in a while. It needs to be enhanced. There needs to be an exclamation point. So I think that the leadership of these companies and these organizations and even the politicians that get votes on the backs of veterans could recognize that if you keep making promises to someone and you keep portraying that you have a wonderful relationship with someone publicly while you are simultaneously denying their reality and denying their pain and their suffering and their experience, that is called a narcissistic relationship. That is narcissistic abuse. That is someone forcing themselves upon you and denying your honest response and your honest boundaries. When you say, ouch, please stop, please honor our agreements. Hey, don't we have a healthy relationship? I realize I have a completely unhealthy relationship with these organizations that I have to participate with or that I choose to participate with so that I can serve the community that I want to serve. And I am choosing to be as honest and open and candid as I can be about my experience. And what I want anybody that may see this to know is that I want to speak honestly in the context of seeking a healthy relationship with the third-party corporate entity that manages Tricare and or a healthy relationship with those people that are in leadership, a healthy relationship with the companies that we work with. It seriously, it absolutely mimics what an abusive relationship looks like in the home and looks like generationally. The people's experience with these entities of power is an abusive relationship, and we are acting out our part of the learned helplessness and the depression and the helplessness and the hopelessness by keeping ourselves silent and by not being just honest and open with one another. And I'm pausing because I got past 15 minutes and I'm trying to be mindful of the time that I spend just sharing, and realizing that on Instagram it starts over after 15 minutes, or I can only do 15 minutes. So, but I do think this is worth talking about, and it's worth being honest about. And what I'm saying out loud to these organizations is I think there's a lot to be gained, and there's a lot of potential profit in wellness. There's a lot of potential profit in investing in people's wellness and well-being. Can you imagine if the insurance industry paid for wellness and well-being instead of sickness and perpetual sickness, perpetually giving lifetime medication, things like that? I would like to have a healthy relationship with my leadership. I would like to have a healthy relationship with the corporate entities that I am mandated to go into agreement with or to work with. I would like to have a healthy relationship with the people that essentially are my colleagues, just in a gigantic system, a gigantic bureaucracy. But what the hell happened to ethics? What the hell happened to professionalism? What the hell happened to integrity? Why can't we have honest discussions about our experience and say, hey, man, you guys had a year to get this right, and you had all the resources you needed to do it. And you could have easily calculated and predicted what this would look like. You could have simulated what this would look like. And it seems like that did not happen. And when the system crashes, a lot of people suffer unnecessarily, and a lot of people experience betrayal and abandonment. A lot of veterans experience betrayal, abandonment, and another example of being betrayed by a family member. Everyone I know that goes into the military said they wanted to be part of a brotherhood, or they wanted to be part of a, not to exclude anyone, but they wanted to be part of a brotherhood. They wanted to be part of something. They wanted to serve. They really went into it with the belief of they wanted to serve. And so many of our veterans leave the military perceiving that they feel used and abused and that their voice doesn't matter, and they experience learned helpless, and they experience collective depression, and there really is a suicide epidemic. But I think it's because of the environment, the sick, toxic, malignantly narcissistic environment that our veterans have to navigate in order to get help. I think we can do better as a system of practitioners, as a system of insurance. I think we need to listen to each other, and we might have to make some compromises. But it is so much better. It is so much more profitable. It is so much just better for everyone to speak openly and honestly with one another, and to do the right thing, and to prepare ahead of time to make sure that you can follow. How about this? To simply make sure that you can follow through with the promises that you have made publicly and that you continue to make publicly. I'm simply saying to any of these entities out there that participate and really honestly create and continue to create this abusive dynamic, that I don't want to participate in that kind of a relationship anymore. I don't want to be in this abusive relationship with you anymore. And I am choosing to simply speak my honest truth. And all I'm asking you to do is to follow through with the promises you make to us and that you make to them, and that you portray yourself to be on your website and your websites. I am tired of watching our nation be gaslighted into believing that our emotions are diseases and disorders and sicknesses that are a problem that is inherent to us, rather than that we are living in and we are navigating a toxic, manipulative, sick environment that is created purposefully. I don't want to be in this abusive relationship with you anymore. And I'm just asking you to follow through with the agreements that you make with us. I'm asking you to treat us with some reasonable respect and dignity. I'm simply asking you to follow through with the agreements you make and that you force us to go into. And I'm asking you to follow through with the promises that you make and to have a coherence in your behavior between what you portray yourself as publicly and how you treat us privately. And I encourage people to start speaking honestly about your experience without making a big deal about it, without insinuating in any way that you're trying to promote any negativity or any violence or anything other than, hey man, we don't want to be in an abusive relationship with you anymore. Insurance companies and healthcare industry and government and IRS and all the rest of it. I'm tired of being in an abusive relationship with you. I'm done with this abusive relationship. I'm going to be honest with about my experience. And I'm simply asking you to follow through with what you say you are going to do. And it is the same as I would teach one of my clients in helping them to grow through an abusive relationship in their family. No, thank you. I don't want to be in that kind of relationship with you anymore. Here's my honesty. Here's my boundaries. Here's how I'm going to conduct myself. If you're willing to build a healthy relationship with me, if you're willing to build a healthy relationship with us, all you got to do is start following through with your promises, and we will trust you, and we will work with you, and we will want to trust you and work with you, because that's what a healthy relationship looks like. Healthy relationship, we want to lift each other up. We want to help each other heal. We have this community of practice, this community of healing, this community of love, this community where we just follow through with what we say we're going to do, and we do that for one another. And that's the entire community of men and women that I get to be a part of. It's amazing to be part of that kind of a community. I think I've said what I needed to say. I didn't know I was going to say all this, but I think I've said what I needed to say.